Hello, Goddess. Welcome back. This is Andrea with You, Our Mind, Body, Soul, where I guide goddesses to bridge the mind, body, and soul. I am a goddess life coach working with divine feminine energy. I focus on psychosomatic education, consciousness reconditioning, as well as goddess alchemy. I'm so happy that you chose to join me today. This video is going to be a free training talking about time management, as well as bringing your masculine and feminine energy together so that you can allow your inner goddess to thrive. Before I forget, I want to remind you to please like, share, and subscribe. And apparently, there's also a notification bell. Please feel free to go ahead and do those to support this growing channel. I'm going to be here for a while. So if you are watching this video, shout out to you. Shout out to the consistent people that show up on these videos and support with your energy and your vibration and just showing up available and receptive to this energy. Because right now there are so many things that we could choose to be distracted by in life, but to show up in this space and be present with me and the divine energy and inspiration that is flowing through me is to be present and to show up for the divine energy and presence which is flowing through you. And all of that comes from the source. I'm so excited to be here today because I actually channeled and was just very inspired, like spirit divinely inspired me to come in here today and to share this message with you. And what I'm going to talk about, we're going to go on a journey. I have my notes here and I took a lot of notes for this video. So if hopefully you're in a place where you can kind of relax and just slip into the comfort of this message, get yourself some tea, get yourself some water. I have gone over several things that have made a significant impact in my life and throughout my journey. So as you get settled in, let's go ahead and welcome one another because this is a training and I don't know how long this is going to be on YouTube. So I'm going to treat this as if we were inside of the academy, which you can find out more by joining the email list. And hopefully I'll have a website coming soon. I'm working on manifesting alignment with that. Okay. So just like we would in the academy, we're going to throw our hands up. This is the symbol for everlasting life, the goddess symbol that has been passed through ancient lineage. You can find sculptures that with the women, with the feminine goddesses holding their hands up like this. And that goddess energy flows through each and every one of us here as we connect. So we're going to bring our hands up to recognize that there is everlasting life that flows through all of us, through our hearts, which our hands are a connection of, as well as our wombs, and the wisdom that flows through one of us. And then we'll take our left hand, which is our hand for receptivity, bring it over the heart and reach out and connect with the goddesses across the timelines that will be resonating with this message. And with all of our attention and intentions, we are allowing this community, this mind, body, soul community, this goddess gang to be fruitful. All right. So let's get into it. Now, just so you know, the reason that, structure and being able to organize things come so natural to me is because of a couple of things. First of all, I'm a Virgo rising. Okay. So my rising sign governs the ability to bring organization and structure to things to make them make sense. Okay. I love organization. It just brings me so much comfort to know that I can find structure. My feminine energy thrives in having firm containers and having a firm knowledge of like direction and path. So these are just the tips and the tricks and the wisdom that has been given to me in order to create that in my life personally. Also, I am an INFJ, which on the MBTI, which is a psychological test that was developed that is comprised of, I believe it's 16 different personality types. So the INFJ is both left brain and right brain balance, okay? And we make up 1 to 2% of the world. So of the billions of people on this planet, I am 1% to 2% of the planet who has the ability to utilize their left and the right side of their brain equally, which is why I was divinely given this information and divinely given this right to, again, to coalesce the left and the right side, the masculine and the feminine, the yin and the yang aspects of life, to bridge that and to bring that into the higher perspective, which is our divinity. So these are natural things that I was just born to. These were just natural skills that I was given. And of course, I cultivated them because I wanted to have that awareness through many, many years of suffering throughout my youth and my adolescence and my early adult life. I just made it my business. I made it a priority for myself to figure out certain things so that I didn't have to struggle in my personal reality. And so I didn't have to see my friends and loved ones struggle and suffer. I always wanted it to be a priority for me to figure these things out, which is why I started with the foundation in medicine, and I moved into psychology, and then I moved into the body, and that just blossomed into so many different things, and which is presently spirituality, and just bringing all of those things together, which is why the name of my company is You Are Mind, Body, Soul. Okay, so it's important for us to always be recognizing that we are looking at life through different lenses, just like how you may wear contacts or you may wear glasses. We have different lenses of perception as we move through life. And your lens of perception is going to be tinted by your life experiences and the colors and the shades that your life experiences placed on you. So there is the color and the shade of the experience that your life gave you. And then there is the way in which you respond to those experiences that further color those experiences. So let's say that life gives you red and then internally you're blue, and then you merge those, you're going to get purple. Just a random example. I hope that makes sense. Also, hopefully you're hydrating yourself. Okay, so we want to tap into our higher forms of perception as goddesses and make time work for us. At the bottom line and at the end of the day, you want to make time work for you, because this reality, one of the constructs is time that is heavily recognized. We want to make it work for us so then we can ultimately move out of the constraints of time. Okay. And when you activate your goddess energy, and I'm looking down at my notes, they're over here. When you activate your goddess energy, you're going to find creative solutions to the issues that you come across in life, which is why I always say you want to be thinking about what is the higher perspective and the higher approach to these things. Okay. So anything I found in life where there is a problem or something that I'm having a problem with, it already naturally came with a solution. So there were times where I was freaked out and bugged out about things that, I saw as problems, and that shows up in the form of anxiety. Anxiety is when you're ruminating and when you're focused on the future rather than staying present with yourself. And a wise person once told me, he said, did you ever stop to realize that the things that you create as problems or the things that you worry about, that they rarely come to fruition? They rarely become a reality. A lot of the times, the things that we perceive as problems are just things that we have created to haunt us because of outdated modes and things and habits that we get into. Okay. So everything is going to be perspective and everything is going to be perception. The source of your reality, your personal reality, there's a reality outside of you. Again, that is the red, that different shade. And then there is your personal internal reality. Okay. They work to affect one another. And everything is going to be generated from your personal reality, which is built on your perception as well as your personal perspective. Okay. And again, all problems have solutions. Therefore, if there is chaos or anything that you perceive to be unorganized or chaos, there's always going to be a pattern within chaos, which is in science, they call it, I think they call it entropy, if I'm remembering correctly, which is like the natural design or the natural law in which everything follows organization or lack thereof. Like life, you'll notice, goes on a pendulum. So it swings from either side. Rarely is anything ever like static or directly in between, which is why we come up with the word balance. Okay. So as goddesses, what we want to do is we want to take energy, which can appear to be chaos and it can appear to be free and just out there. And we want to bring it down and we want to direct it into pathways which create beauty in our life. And when we learn how to work with time and our masculine and feminine energy, we learn how to take all of that free energy that's going on outside of us and flowing within us, and we can channel it and we can make beautiful things. And this is something that I've learned how to do in my life as I've gone through so many different circumstances where I've had to stop and be present with myself to make things make sense for me. I used to be a victim of just my circumstances, not having any financial education. The only thing by the time I became an adult, after I graduated college, after spending so many years in college, I spent 5 years working on my undergrad, and I felt like I really didn't have life skills to function as an adult. I didn't have those resources or the environment that was supportive of what my soul really came here to do, which was to be an entrepreneur, which was to live in my authentic essence and express myself authentically and get paid for what I love to do, which was not work a 9 to 5. But because I came in as a victim and I was so accustomed to the victim mindset, which was programmed into me by my family and by religion and by my community, where I saw different people suffering, I was in this victim mindset where I did not want to participate in society. I didn't want to participate in what I saw as a system. And so financially, I went through a lot of hardship. I had horrible credit. And I just didn't want to participate in this structure, in this system, until one day I realized that because I kept seeing myself as a victim and because I refused to look at the problems and find direct solutions, and the problems were really actually my fears. They were my fears of success. They were my fears of failure, because I had already thought that I was a failure because I didn't end up becoming a doctor, which is what I thought I was going to do. I ignored these problems for a long time until one day I woke up and I decided that I wanted to learn the rules of the game and I wanted to play the game and master the game so that I could really live a happy and abundant and joyful life. So I shifted my perspective from being a victim to empowering myself to get financial education, to improve my credit, to go through the process of delayed gratification, of building myself, getting the information, applying the information in order to be able to thrive. Okay. And so I just shifted my whole perceptive. Okay. And it's important that as goddesses that we allow ourselves to be self-informed and self-aware. So if there's anything that you have a fear of, anything that you know that you're ignoring, whether it be something as internal as a problem that's happening in your body, I want this to be a super body positive space, because, you know, I know that there can be a lot of fears that we have in our bodies as women. So any kind of fear that you may have, whether it be something going on with your body or whether it be something like fear of having a lot of money, or the fear of being seen, or the fear of dancing in your body and being expressive in your body. I want to encourage you to face those fears one step at a time. Take movement, invite choice to move yourself forward through those fears. I want you to do anything outside of ignoring those fears and acting like they don't exist. I want you to channel your inner goddess to do this, because when I did this, everything in my life changed, and I broke out of those shells that I was covered in, that my mind, that my consciousness was covered in. Because from an energetic space, anything that you fear or any box that you choose to check yourself into is going to be your stage of limitation. So you can always break through your levels of limitation, which open you up into new atmospheres of self-realization by choosing to acknowledge them and to allow yourself to really expand through those. Because just like the snake, we are always expanding out of old versions of ourselves and out of old levels of ourselves. And one of the things that helped me a lot in this process of becoming someone that I actually loved, cared for, and respected was defining my sense of success. My definition of success may be different from your definition of success. And so I encourage you not to adapt society or your community or your parents or the people who are directly next to you. I offer you the opportunity to question your own personal definition of success and to learn to embody that for yourself. So just take a moment while I get adjusted to ask yourself, what is success for me? 5 years from now, let's go 20 years from now, because somehow 20 years from now, we perceive it as being really far away when it's really not. And we're going to talk about that deeper into this training. But 20 years from now, let's say, or when you're retired, maybe let's say when you're retired and you look back on your life and you ask yourself, what would be defined as success for you? How can you look at your life and say, yeah, I've had a successful life? And you can journal this out. I always encourage that you have a journal. I have a journal. I journal for everything. The thing that I've learned about success is that success should not be and cannot only be defined by material things and by things that reality or society has placed as a definition for success. So one of the problems with the reality that we have right now is that many people are shaping their definition of success based on personal physical attributes, like the shape of your body, the perfection of your body, the perfection of your makeup, and all of these superficial things. And people are ignoring these internal intrinsic attributes. And so people are having these beautiful bodies, these picture perfect bodies, but they're neglecting their health. Another thing would be material gain and having all of these material features like the cars and the jewelry and all of that. But the bank accounts are empty and there is no wealth and there is no longevity. As a goddess, you can have both. Okay. I love money. I love abundance. I love success. I love looking good physically. I like to have my skin a certain way. I like to get my nails done. But I also know that all of that stuff comes from within. It's all generated within. And that's a whole nother lesson. But you have to define success for yourself. For me, being successful is being in a healthy body, in an exceptional wellness, which means that I can use my body as an aerial athlete or any kind of dancer or any kind of athlete that I want, regardless of my age. I'm 35 years old. and I am in incredible shape. I'm in better shape than I see a lot of 20-year-olds. A lot of my students are like in their 20s. Some students are in their 40s and even their 50s. Age ain't nothing but a number. Okay. And because I'm a goddess and because I know how to feed myself, I know how to treat myself, the formula for my body, I will always be successful within inside of my physical facility. And if you want more information on this, you can check out the 14-day Mind, Body, Soul Reset course by joining the email list, and you'll get more information on when I send upgrades on that course. But success for me is looking good in my body without having to go under the knife for it, without having to enhance myself outside of maybe some lashes, some nails, and some braids. You know what I'm saying? Like that natural beauty that doesn't take a whole lot of effort to get into. For me, that is success. Success is having time. Time is the greatest resource that we have in this lifetime. There's a limit to the length of human existence. I think on average they say it's something maybe like 7 or 80 years, but there are a lot of people living out here past 90, past 100. So success is having time freedom. It's being able to travel. It's me being able to be where I want to be, when I want to be, and doing it how I want to do it, wearing what I want to wear. That's success for me. Okay. So the game changer for me was redefining success, because in the past, it was not money for me. It was, do I have the time to create? Do I have the time to get into my body? Do I have the time to do self-exploration? Which is why I spent 3 years celibate in this space of self-discovery, answering these questions that I was plagued by when I was younger and when I was suffering and when I was seeing everybody suffer. I redefined success for me. So the first task in this training is for you to define success for yourself. Okay. I want you to define self through your intrinsic values. Those are the things that money can't buy. And then feel free to throw in those physical material things, because we can have it all as goddesses. We can have it all. I've got a dozen pair of stripper heels. I want them all, and I've got 2 on the way. You can have it all once you decide, okay? And I have a career that pays for them. They're tax write-offs. It's a lifestyle. So you want to determine the lifestyle that you want to lead and make it happy, make it fun, make sure that it fills you up when you're identifying who your successful version is. And while we're on the topic, you also want to recognize that every day that you get to wake up and that you get to breathe and that you get to consciously bring gratitude in your day is a successful day. The ability to be thankful for something is a successful day. It is a successful moment. So stop right now where you are, take a deep breath in, and give thanks. Give thanks for this moment. Give thanks for having the consciousness of mind and the patience to sit and find fulfillment and joy through this connection that we're cultivating. Okay, so let's see. All right. So moving on, now that we have defined success, we want to make sure that we are not reverting to patterns that don't work for us. So in this life in human psychology, I have a foundation in psychology. And one of the things that I learned through my psychology degree was that everything works on patterning. So the human mind loves patterns, okay? Just like neurons have circuits that they follow, and they kind of operate on the same pattern, the same rhythmic, just like how you get sleepy around the same time of the day. It's just like how you wake up with the sun, or when your body knows that you are supposed to be awake during the daytime. There are certain parts of the day where you get hungry. Our human existence is based very much on patterns, and it is largely because we have that animal aspect, which is governed by the sun and the moon and the seasons. Okay, so it's important to be able to recognize our internal patterns and our external patterns. I don't want to jump ahead of myself. Okay, but In genetics, there are patterns that run through our family. Okay, so you may notice that one family group has a certain genetic or phenotypical, that is your superficial expression, blue eyes, we may have, beautiful full lips. Okay. My mom has a small waist and large hips. I get that from her. I'm grateful. And then I'll also have inherited other things that I'm like, okay, I know that I have to like cultivate these things so that they can work for me. But we all have patterns. There's genetic patterns, there are psychological patterns, there are behavioral patterns that we all work on. But what we're going to work on is being intentional about how these patterns turn up. So because the mind can be programmed just in the mental realm alone, okay, this is a pattern that we can control. It is our thoughts, our habits, and our beliefs. And when you are defining success and when you are working to grab a hold of time, okay, you want to try to get yourself on to patterns that work for you. And one of the reasons that life has emphasized for me that I work well on patterns and how I've experienced this in my personal life is because I am a generator. So in human design, 33% of the world's population are generators, okay? Which means that I have it would appear that I have an endless amount of life force energy. That is the energy that gets me up and inspires me and motivates me to get things done. I can go like the Energizer Bunny when I have something that I'm passionate about and that I love. A lot of people look at me when they see how much I teach and how many privates I have and how I also see clients one-on-one and how I also do these videos regularly. And I have a lot that I juggle and that I actually flow through. And it is because of my ability to find the patterns within myself and to find the patterns within my life. And you can do this too. The Mind, Body, Soul Reset program is the Reset course is a great way of getting yourself on the right path. Okay. But the thing about patterns as it pertains to why it's important for us to get a grasp on time and utilize it as a resource for our goddess energy is because when we were born, we inherited things from our parents that may either work for us or against us. And this is something that I was aware of as I started to do my deep spiritual work. I started to realize that my parents had these things about themselves that I knew I didn't want to follow in that particular path. Okay. So parts of my family I grew up in poverty. Okay. And, on one side of my family, there was a lot of poverty. There was living from check to check. There was the lights getting cut off, all of those things. And I see how that parent has dealt with life. And I knew that as a part of my sacred work that I wanted to break out of that pattern, especially if I'm going to have kids, if I choose to have kids, which I don't have kids, I just have my students and I have the children of my intellectual creations. Like this is me giving birth and nurturing what I birthed. But I knew that was something that I didn't want to pass on. So our parents, they pass on these things like poverty consciousness. You see a lot of people passing on wealth to their children. On the other side of my family, I have very successful family members, lawyers, diplomats, engineers, so I'm seeing both ends of the perspective. And that's one thing about my life is it's very dichotomous. It's found a way to just balance itself out. So in my sacred design and what I was brought here into, I've seen it all. I've seen both sides. I've gotten a very nice picture of success and things that we would typically not consider to be success. And again, I've made it my business to try to find the formulas to find where all those things come into play so that I can make this work for me. And there's this really great book that really kind of highlighted this, the whole process of you inheriting your parents kind of your parents' successes, and you also inherit a bit of the path that your parents were walking, and it is also your responsibility in some instances to complete those journeys in which your parents are walking. So on one aspect of my life, I have the journey of finding financial independence. I have this entrepreneurial spirit, and I know that for that parent, it was their desire to be financially free. Okay. And then on the other side, that might have another parent who life is a vacation for them. So I also have that inheritance of understanding that this thing is supposed to be fun. Okay. We want to make life fun. We want to make it enjoyable. And a really good book that highlights this is The Celestine Prophecy. It really kind of like shed light on all of this. It's a great book. You should check it out. Okay. And so regardless of whether or not you work a regular job or whether or not you work for yourself, you still want to be making the most out of your time so that you can find these patterns in life and you can get yourself on a rhythm in which you can thrive, in which you can be creative. Because we did not come here to just work for someone else's dream. Unless you're super passionate about that dream and that cause, then you're in alignment. But a lot of times we find ourselves showing up for these jobs, showing up for these places and these titles and these spaces that do not fulfill us. And so when we're able to use time and we respect time, we're able to find a more greater sense of fulfillment. So the questions that I have for you, and you can write them down if you want, are with your future self. Okay, and the present patterning that you're showing, the habits, the thoughts, the behaviors. Okay, if you continue with these same thoughts, habits, and behaviors in your future, okay, what will the next chapter look like? Where is this going to lead you? Your nutritional habits. If you keep eating like how you eat, is this going to lead to health and disease in your body and illness in your body? If you continue with the financial habits that you have or thinking about money the way that you do, is that going to attract more money to you in the future? The way that you think about men and the way that you think about relationships, is it positive or is it negative? Is that going to cultivate healthy relationships for you in your future? Okay. When you look back on your life, next question, when you look back on your life, and pause the video if you need, I am going a little quickly. Okay. When you look back on your life, will you be fulfilled? Will you be happy? Or will there be more music left inside of you? Are you being true to yourself when you look back on your life? Will you see a life where you have made yourself proud on a deep level, on a deep soul level, because you showed up authentically for yourself and you didn't let your limitations get in your way? And lastly, when you look back on your life in the future, will you see that you have been controlled by somebody else's goal and someone else's bottom line? Did all of your precious life force goddess energy go into making someone else rich, into making someone else happy, and building someone else's legend and vision for their life? Or did it go towards you and your life's purpose and what you're passionate about? Did you thrive in this? And these are questions that we want to reflect on when we are in our present moments and when we are doing this work. Now, let me see something here. Give me 1 second. So the reason that I asked this question It's because, again, working with the construct of time and really looking at time for what it is in this instance of being able to thrive and allow your goddess energy to work to expand, is understanding that right now, this present moment that you're living is a manifestation of some part of your past. Okay? So your present moment and the present life that you're living is a manifestation of something that you desired in the past. And if it's not something that you desired, it's something that you willed into this present moment by way of the way in which you framed your life and by way in the way in which you narrated your life and you perceived your life. You created this moment for yourself right here in the past. And if you just sit and you reflect and you think about that, like this moment, you created this moment. You're not a victim of your life. This is not happenstance. Nothing in life is happening by chance. What may seem that is happening by chance is actually not. Everything is connected when you really get down to all of the different sciences and practices and wisdoms. Nothing is by chance, okay? And we empower ourselves. We use that to empower ourselves and not to disempower ourselves or to scare ourselves. We recognize that we created this moment. And on the strength and the wisdom of understanding and understanding how this moment feels, we can use this present moment to manifest our future intentionally by working on those patterns and using time as a tool to shift ourselves into patterns that work for us and contribute towards us thriving. So let that be your motivating force in getting time management skills on point, right? So, all right, goddess. So now we've talked about masculine, feminine energy already in previous videos. You can look back on those. And we talked about why we're here, how we're trying to define success, why it's important to live a life that is fulfilling, because our souls came here to do work and not just work for other people and not to just go and living life on autopilot. Have you ever met someone that's lived the same life for the last 10 years? They've never left the city that they were born and raised in. Nothing against them. Still around the same people and the same habits. We want to disrupt that pattern and we want to expand into different levels, more fun, more exciting, more fulfilling levels. So let's keep it moving. All right, so getting into the actual structure of time. So now we're getting into the next part of the training, which is how to actually get a hold of this thing for your goddess elevation. Okay, so the first way that I structure my week, and as we're developing the structure and the framework for this, I want you to think about this on a week-to-week basis just to get you started, all right? In a day-to-day basis, okay? So the most important place to start is with your non-negotiable day off, okay? So I know that every week I'm going to take Mondays off, okay? 2 non-negotiables that I have. Every Monday, I take off. I don't do any important work that does not feel good in my feminine flow, in my feminine body, or towards my self-care, self-love, and rejuvenation on Mondays. It doesn't happen outside of what feels good to me on Mondays, okay? If I don't want to get dressed on Mondays, I will not get dressed because I go hard on the other 5 to 6 days of the week, just because I'm in a very physical, I'm living a very physical, passionate life right now. Okay. And I'm also in peak season. So this is coming straight from me where I'm in like the most intense season of my year during the summertime. I work the most during the summertime as it stands. And I still always have energy, usually, unless it's like a Monday or something, or an off day. You know, I still have energy to get done what I need to get done. And one of the things that helped me is knowing that Monday is my me day. I'm an introvert, kind of a homebody. 99% of the time, I don't leave the house on Mondays. Okay, I'm not trying to go nowhere. I'm not trying to prepare no large meals. I don't do any of that on Monday unless it feels good. Occasionally, I may make like a big salad on Monday, like if I'm hungry and I'm about to eat salad, like that kind of thing. But my non-negotiable, don't ask me to show up anywhere on a Monday. I will flake on you. That's just how I am. I don't do things on Monday. Okay. So you want to do what feels good to you on your non-negotiable goddess day. You can call it your day off, which I don't really resonate with that day off term because it would imply that you're off and you're not present for life, but you are. I would call it your goddess day, where it's just a day where you don't have to do anything pre-scheduled or pre-structured unless it was a deep desire or a firm, holy hell yes, I want to do this, I want to show up for it. Only thing you do on your non-negotiable day off. And you can have one or two of those a week, depending on what your schedule and what your life flow is like. Okay. I work for myself and I also teach full time. So, it requires a lot to be living and working and operating in your life purpose and passion, and that being received and people needing what you have to offer. So I get that one non-negotiable day off. The next non-negotiable that I have is a form of self-care, which are my Sundays. Okay. So Sundays, I do go to the gym. It is a non-negotiable self-care. I rehab my body and my joints from my intense Saturdays, which is my most intense day. They're the longest day. Sometimes I train anywhere between 5 and 7 hours nonstop. So Sundays are my rehab days, and they're also the days where I get to stretch my body, get the lactic acid moving through my body. If I want to go to the park, I'll go to the park and I'll get that self-care on, that rejuvenation on. I'll get that sunlight. I'll journal. I'll process my week. And so Sunday's kind of like half work, half self-care day, because Sundays will also be the days in which I catch up on anything that I know that I don't even want to think about or be harassed by in the back of my mind on Monday. So I know that sometimes I may need some food prep on Sunday if I know that I definitely don't want to have to do it on Monday and I need like a nice strong meal prep ready for that whole week. And so that's going to be my self-care goddess day / finish up whatever needs to be finished up day. And you can take notes on this. This is just how I schedule my life at like the most extreme busiest parts of my year, which then trickles over into the rest of my year so that I am always able to be creative and in a creative space, in a creative flow, and getting things done with timelines, with deadlines efficiently. Okay. So Sundays are my self-care. I'm taking care of my body. I'm taking care of my mind. If I need to be out of the house, if I need to journal, and if I need to finish any extra things up. Okay. And motivation and being motivated to do things, that's a completely different topic. But one aspect, well, let's do a side quest real quick. So why would we need to be motivated to do anything in the first place? It is because there is some kind of reward that is associated with whatever it is we find that we need to be motivated by. Okay. So motivation is required to get yourself into the gym consistently if you know that there's a particular body that you want to have that you're looking for. If you want to feel a certain way, okay, you have to find motivation to show up for that. Okay. If you want to have a certain amount of money so that you can treat yourself to something or go on a vacation, or just not feel like you don't have enough money. Like if you want a certain amount of money just to say that you're comfortable, right? You want to be motivated to structure your income, not overworking yourself or burning yourself out and those kind of things. But when you don't feel motivated, you're not always going to feel motivated to budget, to stick to that budget, or to go to the gym. right? But when you have a healthy structure like this, like what I'm talking about, you don't have to be motivated. You can put your emotions, put your feminine energy to the side, and you just show up because you know that it was pre-scheduled and that it is a part of the sacred rhythm that you are creating for yourself. Okay. So sometimes we have to fight for our non-negotiable right to have that goddess day. Okay. And there's a discipline that is required for that. Some people are addicted to work. Sometimes I can be in a space where I'm like, I just have to keep working, even when it's a Monday. Like, I have to be like, no more, because I love what I'm doing. Like, it takes hours to come up with this amount of material and to channel all of these messages with clarity. I'm passionate about it. I could do it all day and all night. But there are some instances where I'm like, okay, put it to the side for a little bit. Okay. Sometimes I'm like a wide open faucet. So, but what I'm trying to say is we need to be motivated because we have these higher goals, these things that we really want. And when you're not motivated, we rely on our structure, our masculine structure to get us there and to show up anyway. Okay. So my non-negotiables are my gym days. Okay. Whether or not emotionally I feel like I want to go, I know that I have defined that in my masculine energy as a foundation that is going to allow me to thrive in my feminine energy later. If I don't go to the gym in my set pre-scheduled amount of time and I pre-schedule everything, you should have a journal for everything, especially when you have goals that you're trying to reach. If I don't go to the gym and I don't have that masculine energy foundation, when I go to dance on the pole, I'm not going to look the way that I want to look. And my feminine energy will be depressed because I didn't have the masculine structure to stay disciplined and to stay focused with the program that I created for myself. So do you see how they interplay and how they work with one another? So we start with our non-negotiable days, okay? Our sacred goddess days. And then So we want to start off by taking care of the goddess, not prioritizing that deadline or that thing that needs to get done or that thing that we're working to pay for. That's not how you want to initiate your perspective of elevating your goddess energy. You want to start with, when does the rest come? When does the relaxation come? Start with that as your priority and allow your masculine energy to set the foundation for that priority. All right. And then you want to find your core structural days. Okay. These are going to be the days where you know you have the most energy or you're in the most demand. If you're a boss woman, or you're very in high demand, or you have a very demanding career, you know that there are just going to be certain days of the week where you're going to be in high demand, where you need to show up in a certain time frame, in a certain place where you have to get certain things done. Okay. So your core structured days are going to be well masculinely defined. Okay. So for example, for me, that's pretty much Tuesday through Saturday. Okay. You have to show up. You have a particular task that either you are being held accountable for by your boss or by your clients, okay, or by yourself, because you're trying to create something. You're motivated to create something and see something be generated greater than what you have right now. Okay. And on these structured days, what I do to help my goddess energy kind of alleviate and I conserve my energy is I know what I'm going to eat on those days because I've prepped it. So I will either food prep on Tuesdays or I'll food prep on Sunday. Okay. Or sometimes Monday evening if it feels good. You already know what you're going to eat. And you know when you're going to get your movement in, whether you go to the gym or whether you take a group fitness class or whether you do yoga by yourself. You want to have these structured into your schedule on your structured days, which, let's say, for example, will be 5 days out of the week, which is pretty standard living in this country if you live in America, in most of the world, right? If you're a responsible adult, 5 days a week, typically you have to show up, right? So you already want to know what you want to eat, what you have to eat, so that you don't have to spend your energy trying to figure out, where am I going for this? What am I going to eat? And then you end up spending extra money, and then you end up slipping on your body goals, because we're goddesses. You probably have body goals. You probably have body goals. You probably have a certain way that you like to look. And you have that structure into your schedule. You have those times, those consistent times, and you show up without bringing your emotions into those pre-scheduled time frames. So for example, there was like 6 weeks where I just did not feel like working out. I didn't feel like comfortable in my body. I wasn't in a great space, which is rare. It's rare, but I wasn't in a great space. But one thing that I did was I still went to the gym. I still showed up. It wasn't the most amazing, spectacular workout, but I still showed up. Some days I just got on the treadmill, did a little bit of cardio, and just stretched my body and took some deep breaths. I still showed up in that frame, in that time slot where I go to the gym for myself at whatever capacity that I'm at. And when you have discipline and when you have devotion, everything else comes after that. Okay. And then on all of your days, whether they are your structured days or whether they are your flow, your goddess flow days, you want to have a morning ritual and some kind of evening ritual. Okay. So waking up at similar times of the day, whether or not you wake up with an alarm clock. I'm fortunate that I don't have to wake up to an alarm clock. Only on that really early day do I wake up to an alarm clock, because I do have to commute for work. But waking up at similar times, get yourself a morning ritual, which for me is going to consist of a glass of water next to the bed. I wake up, I do my breath work, I do mudras sometimes, and then sometimes I journal. But I always take a moment where I bring myself to another room and I sit down and I connect in with my body for the day and I set my intentions for the day. Okay, set your intentions so that you can tell your life and tell your body how you want it to vibrate, how you want it to be, and how you want it to respond. Our intentions set the framework for how we want to go about perceiving our life. And when you wake up with a perception or the programming your perception to look for the abundance, to look for the joy, to look for the positivity, then you are going to set yourself up energetically for that to be reflected. And then cognitively, what you do is you program your mind to be on the lookout for those things that then give you that positive feedback loop to reaffirm those things. And when you are striving for success and when you are striving to exist in your goddess energy, it is all about being intentional. So you want to wake up every morning and become intentional about this. Okay. The next part that we're going to move into are how to develop a habit. So I was doing a little bit of research and I was seeing how long it takes to actually come into a habit. And we have been told that typically it's like 30 days to develop a habit, but psychological studies show that it actually takes about 2 months to a year to come up with a habit. And this is based on the difficulty of the habit, the amount of environmental support and structure that you have to work towards that habit, and also just where you are energetically and mentally with that habit. So whenever I'm trying to develop a new habit, one thing that I do, because I've just been doing this forever, is I'll start with 30 days. And I'll monitor those 30 days. You can write them down, you can check them off to help you to become accountable for that time. Or you can kind of just know in the back of your mind whether or not it's something that you accomplish. Okay. And then I'll check off. Once I get to the 30 days, I'll check it off. And then I'll go for the 60 days, and then I'll check it off. And then I'll go for the 90 days. And then at some point, I start to realize that, wow, I don't have to think about this anymore. It's just ingrained in my body. If you struggle with this, what I recommend is, let's say you do a practice for 10 days and then you break away from the practice. The most important thing when you are trying to develop a habit is to not beat yourself up. Don't beat yourself up if you don't show up for it perfectly without fail. We're human beings, okay? We are natural human being. Life is going to happen. Things change. We are not showing up feminine with our feminine energy and hormones and all the things that we have going on. It doesn't manifest the same way every day, okay? So you want to be compassionate with yourself. And a lot of times, one of the other things that helps me to shift my behavior, because the whole point in establishing new habits is because we want to change our behavior, because we are motivated by something that we are striving for, that we want to achieve. Okay. And one of the things that has helped me out tremendously is not thinking of something as a habit or something that I want to do for a short period of time, is again zooming out and stepping into the larger perspective of what is my lifestyle going to look like. So there's habits which kind of feel like, oh, I'm kind of doing this, I'm in a framework, I have to show up for this, I'm being audited, I'm being monitored. Like, it's kind of masculine, to the feminine paradigm of what kind of lifestyle am I creating for myself? Because any positive habit or any good habit that you make is going to become ingrained in you. And then you're not going to have to think about it anymore. It just is a part of you, like going to the gym for me, or picking up a book and reading it. Some people like to go outside and connect with nature. It just naturally becomes patterned inside of you. So again, your lifestyle is just a reflection of the patterns that you've created for yourself. And these patterns, again, we want to be intentional about how we're programming our patterns, because we are higher minded, we're goddesses. So we operate from that higher state of consciousness and recognize that it's all the little things that make the bigger picture. Okay. Oh, and another thing that I really like to do especially when I'm trying to start new patterns, which, can I think of any new patterns that I'm trying to start? There might be just like an evening ritual one where I'm trying a new meditation to discover some things. What I would say is, anytime you are trying to start a new habit in order to affect a new lifestyle change, I would say that one of the fun things that you can do is to reward yourself. So if you can do it for 30 days, give yourself a reward, a non-food related reward, preferably. We're not pets. We don't need treats. But you should treat yourself though. So, give yourself a reward at 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Like, find these mile markers and reward yourself. Okay. So yeah, so that's that. All righty. So let's move on. So what happens is, have your bank of energy. Okay. So we want to see our masculine and feminine energy working for our goddess energy, our divine energy, as a bank of energy. And what do you do at a bank? So at a bank, you're going to take money, you're going to store that money up, you're going to build it. Money is energy. Okay. In a natural bank, that is where water collects itself. And it is being processed to go back out into the stream, the river, or the ocean. Okay. So the bank is where you collect energy. So if you think about your goddess energy as the bank where you collect all of the energy that you contribute to your life, when you're sitting and you find and you take the presence for that goddess energy to stop and to say, okay, I'm going to only have this part of my life as structured, and I want the rest of my life to be flow. You're able to be aware of where you're delegating and where you're contributing your energy to. And this is going to allow you to just thrive overall, and to constantly be energized, and to constantly be available and feel creative, and to show up for the things that you're passionate about. Okay, so we want to think of the bank of energy that runs through our body, through our feminine embody that feminine life force energy as the water that flows down into the soil and it feeds the roots of the branches of the structure. So again, there's flow and there's structure. The water, that divine inspiration that we take the time out to create and to channel through our morning meditations and rituals, through having the feminine energy after we structure the masculine energy in, to find that creative inspiration, then feeds us and it contributes that energy into the roots that then stabilizes us through the structure. We're able to flow. And as a woman, especially, like I've just noticed in my life, again, when I have structure, I'm able to flow and I'm able to play and I'm able to show up for myself no matter how I'm showing up. Okay. So in situations where you actually have a masculine structured, when you're in a masculine structure, like you have to show up, like, for example, I know that I have to show up once a week and I sit down and I film for like hours at a time. Today, I knew that I had to show up and I had to film, and it's not even my usual film day, but I have a deadline that I want to create. So the way in which I allow my masculine structure and my feminine flow to show up, I can use this for an example. So I pre-scheduled the time in which I'm coming in to do these videos, but that's on my schedule. But once I get here and I've shown up, I'm not worried about time. I'm not worried about time. I'm not worrying about being intense. Like, I can take side quests. I can laugh with you. I can joke with you. I'm showing up and I'm just enjoying this moment. I put it on the schedule. I got up, I got dressed, I created the content, and now I'm here just enjoying living my passion, living my purpose. And in this way, I'm able to utilize my masculine and my feminine energy to come into this space and enjoy this. I find so much joy and fulfillment in doing this and sharing the things that have worked with me and have brought me to a place where I feel like I can thrive and be incredibly successful with what I do, and sharing love and spreading positivity. Okay. So when you are showing up for your masculine structures, even if it's your job or even if it's for your business, you want to be fully present. Because in previous videos, I've talked about how your feminine energy is your sensual energy. So it's all of your senses and being attuned with all of those. And the best way to do that, regardless of the masculine structure that you're in, is to slow down and find your breath. So when you find your breath, let's just take 3 deep breaths here. When you find your breath, you create an opening. And when you are open, you're being in your feminine energy, because then you're able to receive and you are opening yourself up to influence, positive influence and impressions from your environment that then turn into creative inspirations and divine inspirations and guidance. When you slow your breathing down, you slow everything down. And when you're in your feminine energy, you are taking your time and you're moving a lot slower than masculine energy would. Because when you're going slower, it gives you time to be receptive, and it gives you time to open up your fields of perception. And it gives you time to get into your body. The feminine energy is the wise wisdom of Mother Earth, of Gaia, of the planet. Mother Earth goes at her own pace and through her own rhythms. There are predictable aspects of feminine earth energy, like inevitably the seasons are going to change. And then there are unpredictable aspects of feminine earth energy, which would be natural changes, catastrophes, and unexpected natural occurrences. The feminine energy is all of that. But we connect to that when we honor the presence of whatever is showing up. And we also honor that feminine energy when we recognize our patterns. Okay. Let me make sure I'm not jumping ahead here. Okay. So coming on around to the end here. Okay. We recognize patterns, and I'll come back. So we're able to recognize patterns when we can slow down, breathe, and become present versus just being in the mind. The mind is going to put you on that hamster wheel where you find yourself 7 years down the line and you have been working yourself to the bone, and now you're looking back and you're wondering why. Okay. This is because you were driven by the mental realm, being driven by the mental realm and being driven by deadlines, and not stopping to realize that that is a paradigm of needing to feel like you have to survive. When you move into your feminine energy, your goddess activated energy, you recognize that you can thrive, that things will get done, and success will come to you by way of how you energetically define yourself. So the breath is a gateway to all of that. It's a great gateway to your senses. It is a gateway to connecting you to Mother Earth and what the planet is doing. And as feminine energy, after we show up in those masculine structures, we allow ourselves to show up for whatever is here. So be aware of the Earth's pattern. Speaking of Earth medicine, the Earth, it has her 4 seasons. Check in with your energy throughout those seasons. And also you have your internal pattern, your moon cycle. You're going to feel creatively different during the time in which you're ovulating versus the time in where you are premenstrual. Be aware of those and start to use your goddess alchemy to work around those things. Okay. If you work for yourself, take your moon cycle off. Take that time off to rest and rejuvenate yourself. Give yourself permission to relax and to rest and to slow down and to honor yourself. So we want to be in the body once we get into the structure and into the framework of whatever we pre-schedule for ourselves, and allow ourselves to enjoy that moment. Bring gratitude into the space. Even in those moments where you're frustrated, like you may feel foggy brain or something like that, you probably need a 14-day reset, like get your body clean if you're feeling foggy brain. But let's say you're working and you're trying to create something and you're not feeling the inspiration. Be with that energy, be with it, find it in your body, breathe through it, let it happen. Because oftentimes it is just showing you and guiding you and directing you towards something that needs and wants attention. Be compassionate with yourself, be nurturing with yourself, no matter what you're doing inside of these masculine constructs of time. Okay. Another thing that I have here is when you're in your masculine construct, okay, and you're trying to create things and you're in that structure, you want to find pleasure in that moment, even in pleasure in the discomfort. And I think that this society has stigmatized pleasure, especially feminine pleasure. A lot of times they see it is portrayed as a kind of doped up, artificial kind of scripted pleasure. Is something that I'm beginning to notice. But you can find so much pleasure by just sitting quietly and just being in the moment. Like, pleasure doesn't have to be this elaborate situation that has to be filmed and you're intoxicated on all of these different things. Like, define pleasure for yourself. Just like how you define success for yourself, you want to define pleasure for yourself. Okay. The collective conscious out there, society, does not have to be your own personal consciousness, does not have to be your own definition. You don't have to adopt that. You can make that choice when you slow down and you get in tune with your own rhythms. Okay. Now, The last thing that I have here, and that's pretty much everything. I'm glad I've gotten like all these notes down. Okay, so the other thing is take breaks. Okay. I think scientific studies show that you can only work optimally for about 2 hours at a time. So if you're working for yourself or if you have the opportunity, take breaks. Let's say you're working in an office, go use the bathroom, get up, walk, move yourself, do some rotations, connect with your body every 2 hours. Okay. You work for yourself, try to schedule the bulk of your work 2 hours at a time. So I may sit down and write and channel and prepare all of these things that may take me 2 hours. And then I get up, go get something to eat, go get some water, step away from the screen, all of and all of these things. Okay. So know that optimal work is only going to happen in a 2 hour time frame, which is another reason that we can reprogram ourselves for success. Because if you're working in a corporate job, which I love the corporate world, I don't love the corporate world. Some jobs are worth having, and sometimes you need to work in a corporate job. I have not gone beyond a corporate job at this point in my career. Okay. But working for corporations that do not work for you, that do not care for you, was not created for feminine energy. We were meant to be liberated from these things, to be able to generate an income and to generate a sustainable life based on our divine purpose, our divine directive. And all of this stuff, just the basics of having structure in your life, is going to be a path, a gateway to liberating yourself so that you can one day work for yourself or generate the income, have the resources to be able to have that freedom to create and to live the life that you want to live. Okay. The last thing that I have here for making your masculine and feminine energy work for your goddess energy is when it comes to where you put your energy at, you want to be particular about how you prioritize it. So being able to prioritize where you put your energy into is a skill. It is a well-cultivated, is a skill that needs a lot of cultivation. It's taken me a long time to cultivate the skill of being able to prioritize and then channeling energy into that priority. So the best place to start for what I've done is I will always do a to-do list. So I have multiple to-do lists. I may have a seasonal to-do list, a monthly to-do list, a weekly to-do list, and a daily to-do list. Again, Virgo rising. I love to-do lists, okay? However, the way that you want to work through a to-do list is you want to take the single most important thing that if you do it, it's going to work towards your motivating factor, that outcome that you define success by short term, and you want to put it at the top of your list. And that could still be large. You want to take that, put it at the top of your list, and then you want to work your way backwards from that. Now, just because you find the masculine structure of identifying whatever that goal or whatever that desire is, and then putting it on paper, and then going backwards from where that goal is accomplished to the ways in which you worked yourself to get there, does not mean that that is necessarily the path in which it's going to happen. So you don't want to be tied and you don't want to be constrained to that. But if it is as important as you say it is, then you want to use your masculine energy from this desire, which is a feminine force. Desire is a feminine force. You want to use your masculine energy to extract out a plan for yourself so they feed one another. And understand that anything you're working towards, you want to give it time to progenate, to come to fruition. And you need a lot of feminine energy and you need a lot of consistency, which is why we have morning and evening rituals to give it time to be cultivated and to come. And we have to be patient with these things, with our manifestations and achieving our goals. And we have to be in a wealth consciousness to understand that there is going to be delayed gratification in certain things. Poverty consciousness always has the expectation of instant gratification. Like, oh, well, it didn't happen, so I guess that's not where I'm supposed to put my energy and attention into, because it didn't happen on the first or the second try. That's not how these things work. You have to cultivate, you have to show up consistently. There's a time lag in this reality between the energetic realm of desire and the material realm of it is actually happening. There's a lot of things that have to shift and a lot of things that have to change internally for your environment to look a different way. And that's why we always come back to the goddess energy at the end of the day. Okay? So that's all I have for you today. I hope that this was helpful. If you want more information and guidance on these things to make your life function in a way in which you can feel like you're thriving, break out of these patterns and rise above and find joy and fulfillment and happiness in your life, do what you're passionate about, make more time for that. Join my email list. I'll tell you more about the courses that I have coming up. I got a brand new course that I'm creating, but that's a secret. If you liked it so far, you've been here, please like, share, and subscribe these videos. It's been a great pleasure. Love you. One love. I'll see you in the next one. Mwah.